Good evening. Hope you're all doing well. Today we're learning Maseches Nedarim Daf Vav, and we're starting 3 lines from the bottom of the page. We've been in a discussion about Stam Nazirus, and the discussion is a machlokes. Rav Masna, as we saw in the bottom of Hamid Aleph, was of the opinion that Nazirus is Shloshim Yom based on the pasuk of Kadosh Yeh. The gematria of Yehiah is 10:5, 10:5 is 30, and the shita of Bar Pada, which is Keneged Nazir Nizra Hamur and B'Torah. There's 29 references in the Torah, so he holds that Nazirus is actually 29 days. And yesterday we started with 3 questions about this machlokes. We're going to be asking another 3 questions. Another 3 questions about this as well to try and get to the bottom of the machlokes. So 3 lines from the bottom of Hamid Beis, the Gemara asks another question. Tanan, we have a Mishnah. Misha Nazar Shtei Naziros. A person has 2 Naziros in sequence, one right after the other. The halacha is Megalech es harishon yom shloshim ve'echad. You should do your first giluach on the first Naziros on day 31. So let's do the math. If you're doing your first giluach on day 31, that means that the first 30 days was Nazirus. And day 31 functions both the end of the previous, it counts as 2 days. It counts as the day that you get your haircut and day 1 of the next Nazir. So therefore you get your haircut on day 61 as well. Bishlam al Rav Masna, who holds 30, that's nicha, that's perfect, no problem at all. Top of Ava Aleph, El Bar Pada Kasha. According to Bar Pada, who says that it's really 29 days of Nazirus, so why is the haircut on day 31? According to Bar Pada, the Brisa, the Mishnah should have said that the haircut is on day 30, and that's not true. Michael?
I think you skipped a section because where I had you stop on Shabbos. You already Nazir Shloshim Yom?
We learned that one. Yeah, but Omer Shleiman, yeah. Yeah, that case was a kasha, but we ended up saying that it was a case of Shleiman where he specifically took on a neder of Shleiman. Yeah. Yeah. I did do that once. And Vlad, man, that guy was all over me. It was great. I couldn't miss a thing. Skipped a line. He was always over for skipping lines. It was great. Anyways, I all good. So the Gemara is now stuck a little bit. Like, how does Bar Pada get out of this? This Mishnah is very clear that if you stack your 2 Naziros one on top of the other, that the Giluach is on day 31, and it's a kasha on him. So he says on the very top of Vav Amud Aleph, top line, Amar Lach Bar Pada, Ema Seifa, before you bring out a Mishnah, you should read the end of the Mishnah, because the end of the Mishnah doesn't work the way that you think it's going to work. Remember, Bar Pada was no slouch. So like he's got Mari Makomos. He knows the Mishnayos and the Brisas. So he knows what's coming. It's a chess game. He knows all the questions. So he says, did you look at the Seifa? What does the Seifa say? The Seifa says, V'im gilech asarishona liyom shloshim, megalech asashniya liyom shishim. Beautiful. He has a Mari Makom that indicates exactly like him. Yeah. So the Reisha seems to be perfectly in line with Rav Masna, and the Seifa seems to be perfectly in line with the Shita of Bar Pada. Ella, so since the Seifa is Misayele, what do we do with the Reisha? So the Reisha, how do we answer that up? That must be B'Omer Shleiman. It must be that according to Bar Pada, the case of the Mishnah where it says that he does his haircut on day 31, that case we given with Kimta for Bar Pada. That case, it's where he said it's 30 full days, not 29. He went against the Stam. By Bar Pada, the Stam is 29. This case, the guy said Shleimim. He said his neder was, it's going to be 30 days Shleimim. That's a problem. If the Seifa says that you're allowed to do the haircut on day 30, that's a kasha against Rav Masna, because Rav Masna said 30 full days followed by the haircut. So then Rav Masna kasha Seifa. Amar lach Rav Masna kidekatani Seifa yom shloshim ola lekan ulekan. That day functions for both things. It has a duality to it, and therefore it's not a kasha. His shita can stand. Maihi. What does this mean that yom shloshim is ola lekan ulekan? The Gemara says a very important halachic principle, mixas hayom kekulo, that part of the day is going to be a day where you are still in Nazir. That's day 30. Your Yotza Zayin day 30, and then you get your haircut, and everything works out perfectly fine. It's a good question. It's not for now, but I think in general it is a rule that we utilize, but there are exceptions in the other way. So like by Sfira, right? You can't take in Yontif early because we need Shleimim. We need those days to be. So that's an exception on the other side because it's Tamim. The pasuk says Tamim. Otherwise, in general, we do employ the principle of Mixas Hayom Kikulo. Where do we have it? We have it by Shiva. Shiva and Shloshim. We have it in many places. We have it, I don't even know offhand. I'm like, not, the ideas are not hitting my head. But I think in general, the rule applies and it's on the other way. it's on the other way. We have times that we can't use it. Okay, so says the Gemara, wait 1 second. For those of you who were here yesterday, we already had a diuk from a Mishnah about Miksas Hayom Kekulo, and we don't waste real estate of Mishnayos. Rebbe was very careful about that. Amra Chada Zimna. So says the Gemara, a strange Havamina. I might have thought that when do we employ the rules of Miksas Hayom Kekulo? That's when you're only having one Nazirus. But the Mishnah over here that we're discussing is a Mishnah which says Misha Nazar Shtei Nazirus, and therefore Aval Shtei Nazirus. I might have thought, lo, that there is no Miksas Hayom Kekulo. Kamash Malan, that we employ Miksas Hayom Kekulo both in a case where one takes on one Nazirus and in a case where one takes on two Nazirus. Let's try another question. This is the fifth question we're asking about this machlokes, 2/3 of the way down on Vav Amud Aleph. Tnan, in Gilech Yom Shishim Chaser Echad Yotza. If you get a haircut on day 59 of your double Nazirus, you're Yosei. And then the Gemara, in the name of the Mishnah, gives a svara. Shiyom Shloshim Ole Lo Mina Minyan. Because day 30 counts for both. Says the Gemara, brilliant mathematical kasha. Bishlam Rav Masna Nicha, I understand why, according to Rav Masna, we needed to articulate in the Mishnah that it was Yom Shloshim Ole Lo Mina Minyan. Ela Bar Pada, who says that there's only 29 days, I don't need the Mishnah to say that the 30th day is Ola Lakan Ulakan. Because according to him, the first Nazirus ended on day 29. What's 29 plus 30? 59. So what if you're Bar Pada and you're a 29 Jew when it comes to Stam Nazirus, you don't need the Mishnah to say Shiyom Shlosh Ola Lakan Ola Mina Minyan. The math works without doubling that day of 30. Why?
29 for the first.
Yeah.
Another 29.
So what he would have said is that day 29 is the end of Nazirus and day 30 is the haircut, and 30 functions as both days, and that means 29 days from 30. 30 is the dual purpose day. Then that day is the haircut day for him.
So it's not
day 30.
It's not doesn't count for this.
Well, why would someone?
It's a day on its own.
No, that's the day that's Lakanu Lakan.
The second one is 29.
No,
Right?
no. Day 0 to 29 is Nazirus number 1. Day 30 is the haircuts for Nazirus number 1.
That's our day one and takes your day 29.
Exactly. 29 days is 59. Yeah, 29 days is 59. So here, the problem is that if in fact you are actually a Bar Pada Jew, none of this should be surprising. Why would it then say Yom Shloshim Ola Lamikan Lakan? Bishlam Rav Masna Nicha, we understand, because he says 30 plus 30. How'd you get to 59? Because day 30 was a double day. Fine, no problem. Why do I need the Mishnah to say the language of Yom Shloshim Ola Lamikan Minyan? After all, Ha'amar Shloshim Chaser Echad. He was of the opinion that Stam Nazirus Bichlal is 29 days. So says the Gemara, Amar Lach, what would Bar Pada tell you? Ana Nami Aha Samche. This is my Marimakom. This is the source that I'm somechan to teach you that it's 29 days. Because this Mishnah is it's very sharp for him, because once you get to 59, it is impossible to be a Rav Masna Jew. So you can't 30 plus 30, so your day 30, 30 is Miksas Hayom, day 29, and then what that's very hard for Rav Masna. That is very hard. The Gemara doesn't articulate that. Is that right that it's hard for Rav Masna? If day 30 is also day 1, according to Rav Masna, so then 29 is, how does the Mishnah even make sense at all, according to him?
29 is everything. You're done.
Rav Masna was a 30 Jew. He said, Stam Nazirus is Shloshim Yom. Okay, that's what the Gemara says. Shishim Chaser Echad. If you did it a day early, I don't even know how that works according to him. But anyways, the question isn't on him. The question is on Bar Pada. Ela Bar Pada Lamali. So the Gemara says 4 lines from the bottom. Amar Lach. This is my Marimakom, V'haraya, that I hold 29 is Stam Nazirus. Beautiful. The Gemara's final question is as follows. 3 lines from the bottom. Tanan, the Mishnah writes, Misha Amar Hareini Nazir. If a person says Stam Hareini Nazir, and now we are triggering Stam Nazirus, right? Because it's Stam, we don't have a specific time frame. Nitma Yom Shloshim, if you become Tamei, even on the 30th day, so Seres Hakol.
Yeah.
That's not good. So you wake up on day 30, you do your math calculations wrong, and you go to the cemetery to visit a loved one, and you become Tamei Meis. Bishlamala Rav Masna Nicha. According to Rav Masna, who holds that Stam Nazirus is Shloshim Yom, and on day 30 you became Tameh, of course it should be Soser Esakol. However, Elul Barpada Kasha, according to Barpada, if you became Tameh on day 30, so what? So what? This Mishnah is a big problem for Barpada, because this Mishnah indicates that if you're a 29 Jew, why would day Shloshim be Soser Esakol? You're done already. You finished. That brings us to the top of Vav Amud Beis. We'll be stopping at the Mishnah on the top of Zayin Amud Aleph. Amar Lach Barpada, always got to read till the end of the sentence. Ema Seifa, you got to keep reading. What does it say in the Seifa? Rabbi Eliezer Omer, Eino Soser Elo Shiva. He says, no, it's only Soser Shiva. Namely, Rabbi Eliezer is of the opinion that if you have a stira on day 30, really you're done. Therefore, you only have to wait 7 days for your tuma, your tamei meis. You have to get rid of your tuma. But it wasn't the din in Nazirus Mamish.
But it says Soser.
Hmm?
It says Soser. Meaning that all 38.
That's because the Barpada was of the opinion, and this is found in the Rishonim here, is that there really is a din b'di'evet of a day 30. Not b'di'evet. He says midrabanan, that there is a day 30, just not midoraisa. So it's a stira midrabanan. So the question of the Gemara was, hey, Barpada, this doesn't work for you. He's like, midrabanan, it does work for me, because Rabbi Eliezer says in those cases that you hold, it's not stira 30 days all over, because I really taka did finish. Midrabanan, we require you to pause. So you take a week off and you become tahor again, and then you bring your final korbanos for Nazirus, but you don't have to start your Nazirus again. Isal kadaita shloshim ba'inan nistor kulu. If in fact it was the case that really this was a proper stira, so then Rabbi Eliezer should have said like the Tanakama. So therefore, what do we see that Rabbi Eliezer holds? He holds like Barpada. And if that's true, that's a kasha against Rav Masna. So the Gemara says, Kasavar, Rav Masna must hold. And by the way, this Gemara is not written smoothly. The Gemara should say right here on the third line before the words Kasavar, the Rav Masna. What would he say? That should have been appropriate. It should have been here. Kasavar, he holds Rabbi Eliezer, mixas hayom kekulo. Rabbi Eliezer holds that day is a dual day. It has a dual function. The morning is going to be Nazir, and the rest of the day is not. That's how he would understand Rabbi Eliezer. Tanan says the Gemara, we cannot say that Rabbi Eliezer is of the opinion of mixas hayom kekulo. Why not? Because of the following Mishnah. Tanan, the Mishnah writes, Hareini Nazir mea yom. This man says that he wants to be a Nazir for 100 days. This is not Stam Nazirus. This is not Hareini Nazir. This is Hareini Nazir Mea Yom. So the rules are going to be different here. So we're going to see different answers here, but we're not expecting the regular rules. Nitma Yomeya, if he becomes Tameh on the 100th day, you know, it's like those people who say Nishmas for 40 days and they forget on the 40th day. They're like, it's a whole chap, you know. People want to go to the Kosel for 40 days and they miss the last one. So here you're a Nazir for 100 days. That's a long time. That's a long time. No grapes, nothing. It says the Gemara, so Seresakol. According to the Tanakama, you're done for. Now, let's see if Rabbi Eliezer...
Why would anyone want to do
that's not... Sidebar. It's another question. The Isal Kedaitach says the Gemara... Oh, and Rabbi Eliezer says, Eino Sos Ela Shloshim Yom. He says, no, you just have to repeat a minimum of Nazirus, which is 30 days. But why? The Isal Kadaitach Savar Rabbi Eliezer Mixas Hayom Kekulo. If you want to say that last day is really Mixas Hayom Kekulo, then why would the Rabbi Eliezer here start over with the whole thing? Why would he not make you start over with the whole thing? Nistor Shiva. If it's Mixas Hayom Kekulo, it should be just like the Rabbi Eliezer at the top of the page. 7 days. Because really you're done and you just have to wait to finish your Tuma status to bring your Nazir Korbanos. The lo savar mixas hayom kekulo, and if he doesn't hold of that, then listor kulu, then he should, if he doesn't know, then the whole thing is done, even though it's day 100. But if he doesn't hold mixas hayom kekulo, then until the sun sets on day 100, you're a Nazir proper. And if you become Tameh, you're starting over. So therefore, the Gemara concludes, how do we then understand Rabbi Eliezer? L'olam, a third of the way down on Vav Amud Beis. L'olam lo amrin and mixas hayom kekulo. Really, Rabbi Eliezer, l'shitaso, he does not hold a mixas hayom kekulo. And ihachi listor kulu. Why then, if he doesn't hold mixas hayom kekulo, that's day 100, you became Tameh. Why then do you not have to start over? The Gemara says, because he has a special drasha that says you don't have to start over. Says the Gemara, Amar Reish Lakish, Hainu time of the Rabbi Eliezer, Amar Kra, Zos Toras HaNazir B'Yom Melos Yimei Nizro. That if a person becomes Tameh on that day, the day that's Yimei Melos, then he has to do another Nazirus. So therefore he has to do 30 days. And says the Gemara, perhaps this machlokas. Oh, sorry, let me do the drasha. HaTorah Amra Nitma B'Yom Melos Tein Lo Toras Nazir. That even though it was 100 days, if you become Tameh on that day, then you should keep another Nazirus. I'm going to ask a question that I don't know the answer to. If this is true that Rabbi Eliezer holds of this drasha, and he doesn't hold a mixas yom kekulo, then why is it that Rabbi Eliezer at the top of the page says only Shiva? The only way we got out of that was by saying that it was mixas yom kekulo. That's how.
Right.
Oh no, it's not Yom Melos for him. The answer is that this only works according to Bar Pada, because Bar Pada says it's 29 days. This was day 30. That's how you get out of it. Has to be, because it's not on the Yom Melos. Okay, halfway down, the Gemara wants to say that perhaps the machlokas that we have over here is connected to another machlokas. Lema ketanoi. Maybe there's a machlokas like the following machlokas tanoim. The pasuk says ad melos hayamim. What is this talking about? It's a pasuk by Nazirus. The pasuk reads, Kol yemei neder nizro tar lo ya'avor al rosho. That a person is not allowed to bring a razor to their head ad melos hayamim asher yazir la'Hashem until he finishes his days v'chule. Shome'ani, what do I hear from the word melos? Melos should be miut yamim shnayim. Ad melos hayamim, it should be a minimum of 2 days. Talmud Lomar, it's not just 2 days. It's really kadosh yagal opera. Ein gidul seyar pachos mishloshim divrei Rabbi Yoshia. Rabbi Yoshia was of the opinion that it must be that ad melos hayamim is talking about 30 days. Rabbi Yonasan Omer Eino Tzarich. We don't need a pasuk to teach us what we're talking about. Harehu Omer ad melos hayamim. And what does ad melos hayamim mean? I elu hein hayamim shetzrichen lemalos. What days are there that we need to fill in the gaps for? Havi Omer shloshim of a particular month. We know that the lunar month, our Jewish month, is approximately 29 and a half days. So sometimes we have to compensate for it. It's Yom Shemelos, we have to fill in. So 1 month where Rosh Chodesh is 29 days, another month it's 30, 1 day Rosh Chodesh, 2 days Rosh Chodesh. We have to figure it out. We have to fill out the calendar. And therefore he says, what is Rosh Chodesh? By definition, it's not 30, it's in the 29 category. So Machlokes of Bar Pad and Rav Masna might be rooted in this Machlokes Tanaim of 30 and 29 respectively. My love, is it not the case that Rav Masna de Amar Rav Yoshia, Rav Masna, who was a 30 Jew, because he says Kadosh Yeh 10:5, the Gematria is 30. So to over here, same pasuk is quoted of Kadosh Yeh, and therefore Damar Rav Yoshia. And Bar Pad, who's a 29 Jew, Damar Rav Yonasan, who says that we're talking about something that needs filling in, which is the lunar month, which is by definition less than 30, 29, which it means we're in the 29 day. Amar Lach, the Gemara says, Amar Lach Rav Masna, he says, no, you got it all wrong. Kulei Alma Shloshim Ba'inan. Everyone agrees that when we are talking about Stam Nazirus, we all agree to 30 days. That's not the question. The only machlokas that exists is Be'ad ve'ad bichlal pligi. We've had this in Shas before. We had it in Brachos, Eruvin, Psachim, Rosh Hashanah, Sukkah, and we'll see more in Shas. They're all over the place. Ad ve'ad bichlal. If you say, I'm not going to be home until 10, so we know what that means in our parlance, but there are thousands of types of languages that are unclear. So you're in a project, you do up to number 4. So do you want me to do 4 too? Like is 4 with me or is 4 not with me? So that's what the Gemara is saying broadly is happening here. Rav Yoshia Savar ad velo ad bichlal. The pasuk says ad melos hayamim. We don't know, is ad including the 30th day or not? And Rabbi Yonasan Savar ad ve'ad bichlal. And according to Rav Yoshia, who says ad velo ad bichlal, that's why he brought a pasuk. According to Rav Yonasan, he was able to get to his answer without that. So therefore, really in conclusion, Stam Nazirus is Shloshim Yom. Most of the questions that we just asked are great for us for learning, but Lamaisa, the way that we paskin is Stam Nazirus is Shloshim Yom, like our Mishnah. Let's just analyze one of the lines that we saw, and then we'll wrap up with this for the day. Omar Mar, we had seen a line, Elu Hein Yomim Shetzrichen Lemalos. We had said Have Omer Shloshim, that the number 30 was a count that we needed to fill in the days for. Yomim of the month is 30 Yomim Ad Melos HaYomim, that's 30 days, and because so we have to fill in the gaps, sometimes that's called Shloshim, that's called Melos. Bema Shabbos, says the Gemara, what about 7 days of the week? The Gemara says, I'm not sure if you were listening, but we were talking about things that were chaser. Shabbos mi'ika chasirusa. Shabbos is perfect, you guys. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Shabbos. It's not like 29.5. It's not 6.5 days. It's 7 days. The cycle of Shabbos is perfect. Nothing doesn't need to be touched. So therefore, that's a terrible question. Perhaps we can say that when the pasuk says I want to just read the pasuk right. Where is it? What is it? Ad melos hayamim. So the Gemara says ve'mashana, maybe it's a year. Says the Gemara, mi maninan liyome. Do we count a year with days? Do we count a year with days? Not really. Rabbanan de Kesari Amre. The rabbis from Kesaria taught us. Minayin she'ein monin yamim l'shanim. From where do we know that we don't count a year by its days? Shenemar l'chodshei hashana. Chadashim mechashven l'shanim below yamim l'shanim. You can't even be shanim because you're right. Shana, an iber yor. It's a great question because the Gemara says, what's something that's chaser? We said it's a month. A year also can be chaser. So some years are lunar years, a drop shorter. Some years it's a drop longer. So therefore the Gemara says it's a good question, but we reject that because we don't count years by days. We count years by months. We'll stop right here. Mirza Hashem will pick up tomorrow with this Daf Zion. Just a little bit of a scheduling note. Wednesday and Thursday, I am totally out of commission. I will be recording and posting, and we'll let you know if anything changes. Otherwise, you can expect a recording on the chat. Wishing you all a beautiful night.